What's up, guys? Back for another episode of the Peace, Love, and Meat podcast. Been talking to Ross a little bit beforehand here, per usual, and we were just kind of reviewing the giveaway. So, what I want to share here is what we have and what I'm working on, just to give you a better idea. So, I essentially wanted someone to be able to go from completely inexperienced, no equipment, gear, knowledge of hunting whatsoever, and I at least wanted to be able to outfit them for an early season hunt. Try to get them connected with somebody, whether it's through me or through you or through some of our extended network. Help them find a doe or a turkey hunt or something that is beneficial to the property owner. They're going to be excited to help a new hunter. We can help facilitate some of that. But as far as the giveaway goes, 100% getting the Expedition 33 racks, and that's a 65-pound right-hand bow. Over and over and over the last 2 years, I've looked at 100 different scenarios for building bows. A 65-pound bow for anyone can last you the rest of your life if you take care of it. I mean, this is not going to be like a flagship premier bow. This is going to be a mid-upper to low top tier, kind of that range of performance. And that is perfect for a beginner because that allows a lot of flexibility in the tune down. If we have somebody that's, 30, 40, 45-pound draw, this bow is capable of that. Whereas a lot of your top end bows, the window for tuning is very, very limited. So this bow, you're going to get Easton arrows, the 4mm or the 5mm axis. There's benefit to both. And really for a new beginner or new archer, it may not matter, but I will talk to you about the options there and why I can suggest certain things for different reasons. Beyond that, we got a couple pieces from Born Primitive. You're going to get a top and a bottom, I'd say would be the best, but you really do get a choice of your own. Like you can look at all the outdoor stuff. If you want 2 tops, fine. If you want 2 pants, fine. But I wanted to get a piece of camo, something, just a lightweight top, something with a hoodie. So I'm talking to a couple of different camouflage companies there. Like I said, this gets not sticky, but
Sure.
I want to shine light on my friends, on the relationships that we have. So this is going to be just an never ending rotation of companies because we have good relationships with so many people. So that benefits people on the other end. So we got a couple of camo companies that are probably going to give at least one, maybe a few more pieces. I want to get a bino pack and some sort of backpack. I don't really have a connection in the boot world. So if anybody is listening to this, I mean, I do, but I don't really have the handshake face-to-face connection. And I'm not going to ask a friend to do me that kind of favor in this situation. So, basically outside of boots, I'm going to try to get you fitted top to bottom to have a bow ready to go to the field and shoot. Also, we are going to provide a total archery challenge ticket to your nearest location. Now, if you can't go, you just kind of bypass that part of the prize. But the encouragement would be to get there. Ross and I live on opposite ends of the country. There's events all over the country. A perfect situation would be that you could come and spend an afternoon with us and shoot in that situation. But that'll just be logistics. If we can make that work, definitely an open door to walk through. But if it just doesn't work out because of scheduling or where you live or the inability to travel, it's just going to be the reality of it. But we will get you a ticket. And beyond that, I will make sure that someone at that event that I know personally, that I believe in completely as a human being, to help you out and take you around and kind of get you in a group like that. So that's really kind of the long and short of it. There'll probably be a few other things.
We'll throw we'll throw some of our stuff in there too.
Yeah.
We'll have a shirt or two, and we have a mug and a sticker. Like we'll put a little pack of our merch stuff in there as well.
Yeah. And before we go into that, just to say the breakdown on this, look, if you don't want to be a part of the membership, that's totally fine. This is not about entirely gaining membership. It is in a way, but if you just want to support Peace, Love, and Meat in a one-time fashion, obviously you can buy the merch. That's supportive. But if you want to win this raffle for yourself, it is transferable. We can transfer this to a friend, spouse, whatever it might be. But we can get you set up with that. $15 for a non-membership. If you join, the lowest monthly entry is $10, and that's going to get you one entry. The mid is $20. That's going to get you 2. And the top tier is $50 a month. And that's going to get you 5 entries. What you're going to see in there, and this kind of like expands the episode a little bit into the merchandise and whatnot. Ross and I were talking about me personally having that situation with a group of people that have said, hey, yes, I'm raising my hand that I want your information. I want to hear what you have to say on, certain topics. I want expanded info from you on certain topics. And that's just kind of been like a freedom for me to share a little bit more information in further detail, whereas we've talked about with Peace, Love, and Meat, Ross has kind of kicked me in the ass a few times and been like, hey man, you need to post some more stuff. You need to say some more things. And he's not wrong, but I have really, really struggled, with all that's going on in the world today, with what to say and how to say it in a way that as a baseline, it can call to action with an action through positivity in a realistic view of the world. So I want to be able to view the world for what it is, understand what I can do better for myself, something that has helped me that I can probably or potentially pass forward to someone else. Like the biggest thing for me is looking at my entire life and realizing that like, hey, I am so far on this mountain still climbing. Like I have no grounds to get at the podium and sit here and tell anybody how to live their life. I am doing my best to navigate and learn and grow and evolve as a human being. And with that, it kind of made me feel a little bit like a fraud in the sense that I was saying, hey, do these things and you will be better. Do these things and you will be better. I believe that, but it's also, I started hearing like, you're like this guy, or you're like this guy, or you're like this guy. And it's like, listen, at 50,000 feet, maybe so, but I am not coming to you from a place of expertise outside of getting strong. Like that's the only area in my life that I have expertise. People think I have expertise in archery because I've shot some animals and I've picked up the stick bow or whatever. It's an obsessive passion that I have, but I am still so green, so completely green to the art and the technique of it all. And that's the other thing. It's like, I know how special that meaning of master is in an area. Like I know how coveted that truly is. And I also realize how bastardized that is in today's society. So I don't want to be another guy just giving lip service about things, detracting from somebody who spent 50 years from it. So trying to learn in a modern era where I could probably propel myself further than my status should allow. Being behind that safe wall where I can clearly state in long form if I want to, or more detail, this is what I'm doing. This is not a, you need to do this, you need to believe this, you need to think this way. It is, this is what I am doing, and then having a conversation about it. Instagram does not necessarily allow or provide for that type of outlet. And we talked about this on a video. One of the most popular videos I posted in the last year, it had 25, 30,000 views or whatnot, and it was between 2,500 and 3,000 likes. Almost an entire, it might have been over a day of like 24 hours plus or close to that of total viewership, right? When you look down at the average timeline that people are spending paying attention to what you posted, that looks, 3,000 likes, people love this. 25 hours of viewing time, people must love this. And then you see, okay, this was a 4.5 minute video and the average watch time was 26 seconds. So am I going to shift my focus for Peace, Love, and Meat, trying to gain and fight for that 26 seconds of attention? Or can I continue to give things there at a certain level, try to continue what we've been doing, but do more of that, but then also go to a very specific group of people and say, look, this is a little bit deeper. This is a little bit more of an attentive group. They're invested. And it's not like I care that it's $10 or $20 or $50. If you're invested, you're invested. Whatever you can do for yourself, that's totally fine. I'm not going to treat anyone differently. Now, there are levels of information that will be shared. We talked about this. Something that might be a 1 to 3 page article for the lower membership group might be a 2 or 3 minute video for the mid-level, but it's also a 10 to 15 minute video for the $50 group with continued conversation on any of those fronts. But nevertheless, the level of detail will be given special caveats to each of those categories. Like we are going to make sure that each one of those, when you look at your checkbook at the end of the month and you say, you know what, is that worth $10? And I'm not making light of that. I know the value of $10 in today's economy. I want to make sure that it's at least worth double that. And for the same for the 20 or the 50.
That's what I was going to say, is make it like it feels like it's a steal. Almost, for whatever level you come in at. That we're just trying to really over deliver on a lot of it.
For sure. And then just on a basic economics level of savings, like we are going to offer discounts, not only through us, but also other companies, that by the end of the year, let's say you're in the $50 group, that's $600. You're probably going to have $150 to $200 in savings opportunities beyond. I mean, it could very, very easily pay for itself. You win one of these giveaways or get involved with something that we're doing in that front. Again, it can pay for itself, and there will be opportunities limited to those tier groups. So more investment now, bigger discount on the other end. It's just it's just the way it works. So that is the push. You know, we're going to end this. I guess we'll probably end this the last day of January, do the drawing within a 48-hour window of that. Yeah. And just kind of get the ball rolling on this. We have another giveaway for February. I talked to the guy that's going to do that bow yesterday. Got a really, really cool idea, something he's building more of now than ever before. And he's really just excited about how they shoot, how they perform, the ease of shooting. And when a guy tells me he's excited about building something, I'm not going to ask him to build something different. So I think that's the model that we're going to get, and we'll definitely have more of that. But just if you've never shot a bow, or if you have a bow right now, or you know anybody that might benefit from one, just think about all that we're giving. We're giving a bow, we're giving arrows, sight, rest, born primitive top, bottom, or whatever, 2 pieces from there, some camo, a bino harness, and probably a backpack, and then a ticket to TAC. So, you're easily in the 2,000 to probably more than that, honestly, range. We probably need to get a number just so we can impress people with how much we're giving away. But, it probably, I mean, you think about it, the bow being roughly $900 or so MSRP, you got probably a $200 to $250 sight. You've got probably a $150 rest. So
you're probably $1,500 in on the bow setup itself.
Just the
bow, I
would
imagine. Yeah.
And then, $200 for arrows for a dozen. And then, $150, $200 for a bino harness, easily $200 for a backpack, $169 for the pants, $70, $80, $100 for the top, and then camo, whatever that comes in at. So,
probably about 25. I'd probably say somewhere around like $2,500 all with everything.
So for $15, just one-off entry, or your membership goes towards your ticket, and it's a pretty sweet deal. If whoever gets that's going to get a pretty good package deal there. So thank you guys that have already signed up and gotten involved. And if you're on the fence, I promise you, it will be worth it. You will see the way that we interact in there is just going to grow day to day, week to week. And we've got kind of a formula that we were talking about even just a little bit before here. As we said, so much of this has been on the fly with kind of like a known track. We know where we're going, but it's just kind of figuring out the process. So we've got some ideas as far to how to layer the information input into the groups individually for each tier and what that'll look like. So we're going to get that nailed down, but by the end of this month, and it's already going, but by the end of this month, that should be running pretty much as it will and seamlessly by within the next week to 10 days. So
for sure.
Get signed up.
And like you said, what's cool is the aspect of having more community involved. I mean, we've already got a couple dozen people in there that are already like really engaged and commenting on stuff, and we're talking with everybody, pretty much every day at this point, which is cool. So that's only going to get better and more refined as we continue along this, because like you said, we're very much operating from a ready, fire, aim perspective on a lot of this stuff, which
Yeah.
is one of my favorite ways to do things. Like, I don't really know how to do much else other than have a fragment of an idea and then just fire off and then make adjustments as we go. You know,
Exactly.
like I've been in too many situations in the past where I've not done things because I was trying to wait until they were perfect before I started. Yeah. And then those opportunities those opportunities were lost, or I lost the interest in doing it or something, you know. One of a million things happens to where now it's not a possibility anymore. So I remember it was probably, I don't know, like 6 or 7 years ago, I was working with one of the business coaches at the time. And that was like one of the main things he really kind of instilled. He's like, dude, if you got an idea about something, like, get enough of a skeleton together that you at least have a starting point, and then just send it, you know, like, and then once you fire it out, like, give yourself a whatever the designated amount of time is, gather your feedback and make adjustments rather than trying to do all of those things before you actually start. Because once you do start, you're going to have to do all that anyways. Right. So now you've just lost however many weeks or months or years getting something fired off. So
lives, with this, you know, like how many people go their entire life and never jump, you know?
For sure, man.
I guess it's been a theme in my algorithm lately, but I was watching this guy and I don't remember who he quoted. So if somebody knows it, shout it out if it's you or me.
I lost you there for a sec. What did you say?
Oh, I was just trying to be funny and failed.
Your algorithm?
I was saying my algorithm has just given me a lot of like business, real estate, you know, kind of stuff lately, things I've been looking at. And this guy, I don't remember who he said who he said the quote was from. And I said, if anybody knows, just shout it out, Ross. And but what he said was most people only dream of bettering their situation. They don't actually dream of what their dream is. And he said they're already living in the same realm of the dream of just getting better. Like, I want to have my bills paid on time. They're not thinking about a new house or a new car, or they're not thinking beyond the immediate. And he said, so when they do get to that level, they never think beyond that because it was so hard to get there. They don't think there's ever a level beyond that. So they kind of get stuck in the routine. They're advancing. They kind of get in a monotonous trend. They get miserable, and then they work really hard and they find their way forward. If that same person day one had said, you know what, I want to live in California on the beach with a 57 Cadillac, you know, like whatever their dream was, if they could detail it down, you know, it's kind of like you shoot for the moon, you get to the stars, or you shoot for the stars, you get to the moon, whichever one it is. And it really is one of those things. If you want to earn $10 million and you've come really, really close but fail, you're probably still at $4 to $5 million, you know, and the payoff of losing there is still pretty good. And I'm saying this much like we were talking about too with Instagram. I am saying this to myself right now. You know, I'm trying to transition my thinking from, you know, everything that I do has been a pursuit, as far as it's been for sport or it's been in the field or whatever. My whole life I've been an athlete, and I've really been trying to mess around with my own psychology and make, you know, a retirement plan, like a true investment retirement growth plan. I have those things, but like, write it down. Like, what do you want to build and how are you going to get that? And, you know, it's just one of those things that's probably why I'm seeing more of that business type stuff, because it's the things I'm looking at. But it's important to me now to figure out how to look at my life, where for so long I was trying to get away from a money-based thinking. I wanted to pay off any and all debt. I wanted to be as unattached as I needed to be. Like, I never wanted to have to depend on a paycheck to have the things that I need. Whereas I don't want to get to a point where it's like, man, I just need more money for the sake of having more. But I look at the things that I could do in life with more opportunity because of money. And I think I'm trying, and like I said, I'm trying to scale it in a healthy frame, because everything else I've chased, I have done so in an unhealthy way, like to the depths of obsession. So it's kind of nurturing those traits about myself, knowing that if I put my mind to it, I can do it. But just figuring out the way that I want to do it, that works best for everyone around me, to go forward. Like, this doesn't take away from anything else. It gives to everything. So I don't know. Have you gotten to that point with yourself? Like, I know that you're a little bit younger than I am, and
Yeah.
it's your young spry age. I wasn't thinking about those things either, but is that something that's on your radar?
Yeah, I would say always, especially in the sense that for my living, my work, like with the brand new exception of the stuff that you and I are doing, everything else is all me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's the added pressure, but every other adjective and emotion that come along with owning and running a business. You know what I mean? So there's all of these things that I've been thinking about for the last several years, and hyper thinking about for the last 4.5 since the first of the little ones was born, which kind of like puts you into a whole new zen of focus. You know what I mean? And so there's those pieces where I'm realizing I have goals in many different realms that even just a couple of years ago seemed like 20-30 year things, and I'm now thinking of them in like 5 to 10 year things.
Sure.
And the forced shortening of that timeline does really well for me in terms of action and making myself want to go do the things, and really kind of acts as a good driving force for me to do a lot of stuff. It doesn't even really matter what area of life that's in. Right. It could be work and financial related, or it could just be stuff with my body and my training, and or stuff with between Molly and I. Like, there's all these different areas where I tend to operate better with that. And we talk about it with training, where it's like we are much better about our training and our focus when we've got something that we're working towards specifically on a timeline, and having that time, because so many times you'll have these real open-ended goals that, even though they're things that you need to get done, there's no hard deadline on them. And no matter what it is, having any form of open-endedness with a pursuit, you're going to maybe even subconsciously procrastinate a little bit. Because there's nothing there that's like, you have to get this done by this day kind of a thing. And so I've noticed that about myself. Like, if there's something that I even remotely think there's important in anything, I have to put a date on it. Or even, maybe not a specific, January 24th, but it's like by January 2 years from now kind of thing. Or like, I'm giving myself a time frame to work within. So there's a lot of those things where it's like, if I can get this kind of stuff really honed in and hammered down in the next handful of years, it's going to set up the next handful of decades. And that's kind of the approach that I'm trying to make with a lot of this. After, doing things, and I'm still doing things probably extremely poorly in a lot of senses of business ownership, right? Like, if I wasn't doing them poorly, I'm sure I'm not talking to the right person about analyzing what I'm doing. Like, even if that person was me a year ago, like my business a year ago, I'm like, how could I have even done any of this operating it the way I was at that point,
Well, that's, it's one of the things that I'm trying to learn from you on this end is, you're kind of the detail side of the organization of helping the website get going and that stuff. But, before, when I had some partnerships and online kind of business, man, it was just like, we were talking about some things in regards to shipping any of the merchandise that we get. And man, I got eaten alive online because of some of the shipping stuff, and it some of it was my fault. Some of it was the post office, you're up till 2 or 3 in the morning because you got home late and you promised these things would deliver. You're up and it's like, okay, this shirt's a large, and you just happen to put it, in a box or a bag that needed a medium. And it's just all those little things that you not only have to touch it once if you mess it up, you then have to touch it again. But having a drop ship to where we can choose the product, we can choose the quality, we can choose all of that stuff, and then it is handled by somebody that is set up just to deliver.
Yeah.
Like those kind of things are mind blowing to me. Like,
yeah,
I'm as podunk simple as it comes in some regards,
yeah,
but it's just amazing the seamlessness of the world today for an entrepreneur in an online space versus when I got started, 2010, 2000. Yeah, it was 2010. I came out with ProPower.inc, and
Nice.
it was that was just a forum for powerlifters and a lot of guys that were training West Side to just talk about conjugate in a format of, yeah, this is what I'm doing. Well, that lasted about 6 months and got a cease and desist, but it was
From
like,
West Side or what?
yeah,
Really?
yeah, and here's the thing about it. Louis was cool about it. Louis talked to me directly about it like 2 days after. And I expected it to be an argument or whatever. And he said, look, man, he said, I pay lawyers and they tell me what they're doing. He's like, I don't have much say on it because it's like, if I let you go, then they got to open the floodgates for everybody else. And after talking to him, like, there was no hard feelings. The site came down. It kind of spider webbed into other opportunities to do the same thing, just for different fronts.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it was it's always been something that made sense to me because of the reach. That's one of the things that we've talked about is we don't necessarily want to grow a million people following. I would rather keep the 10,500 or whatever it is right now, and all of those people be like committed to what we've said and shared and gotten better themselves. I'm not saying committed to us or whatever, but just committed to themselves to improve, and
Yeah.
if that's achievable, if we can help every person that sees the page or give knowledge to or shine light on things that can help people better their lives, that's always going to be my mission. Like I said before, if it's a book, if it's a song, if it's a movie or a podcast, whatever, just a hub of like, man, that's really worth 3 minutes to listen to that song, or that's worth $12 to buy that book. I just don't want to waste people's time or money, and I don't want to mislead people. It's too much of the industry's, well, it's just industry. It really is taking time from people, taking their money, and misleading a lot of times.
Yeah, and in regards to a lot of the stuff that we're able to do now, just from a logistics standpoint, it's amazing. There's so many things available for. I mean, I can't tell you how many stories I've seen where it's like some 17-year-old kid just decides he wants to open up a drop shipping thing with a fun design of merch and starts an Amazon store or whatever. It takes you can pay a few $100s for a decent online course to teach you how to set everything up.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, the kid's doing $5 million in revenue. Just selling shirts with designs that he drew. And it's that kind of stuff that's super encouraging and motivating, but also just pisses me off.
Oh yeah.
I'm and more from the sense why am I not doing this?
Right.
It's I know I can do all these things, but I don't know what it is. I just get there, or I get in this mode where I'm like, why can't I do? Why am I not why can't I? But why am I not doing this?
How this is going to be a little bit of a shift away, but on the same topic, really. How many success stories are time and place?
Yeah.
Right? Because I credit time and place.
Book of outliers.
Well, that's for me, for example, right? I talked about having the website in 2010. There was Powerlifting USA, Body Tech. There were powerlifting themed magazines. Louis was writing a lot of articles, but there weren't a lot of new articles coming out, with new training models and whatnot. So when I started training a conjugate system and then eventually moved to Westside, I started talking about a lot of that stuff online just from like, I worked up to 500 with a blue green band, 8 sets of 2. Like I just detailed my training.
Yeah.
And it opened so many doors to questions. And then, people got to see that you were getting ready for a meet. So when you did your meet, they wanted to know how you did. And it just became this ever changing, ongoing story about my lifting career. And it's like, because I was sharing the depths of my training, I was showing a little bit of like life outside the gym, very little of that, but like still some, but then also engaging and answering training questions, and helping someone. Dude, you could go online right now, as one of the best lifters in the world and try to start that, and you won't do it.
Yeah.
Because there's some 17-year-old kid that's obsessed with media, really good at editing, and fanatical about the sport, and they can make tribute videos about lifters. They can become an expert, quote unquote expert, in the field as an anonymous face that just posts historical context about great lifters of yesteryear, and now it's like, holy shit, the whole thing has changed because the people in the sport making the most money are not the strongest.
Yeah.
And that's just a weird dynamic for me. But on our front, the same model applies. It really is share something progressive and constructive and just be there to help people navigate it. That's always going to be the thing for me. But the timing and place of that is like, we have an opportunity because the time and place already got the attention of what we're trying to say. So what we do with it now just depends. But you think about like in the terms of music or art or, like, is Immigrant Song in 1986? That kind of thing. Is Led Zeppelin in 1981 if they came out fresh? It's just like they kicked down some doors and that made them what they are. And that's just one of the weirdest things about success is people don't factor in. You can do all the things. You can check every fucking box that Anthony Robbins or Joel Osteen or whoever your evangelical money guru is. You can do everything they say and be at the right place at the wrong time or the wrong place at the right time. It's like, it's just weird. It's one of those factors that it's the X factor that very few people actually talk about in terms of success.
And there's the matter of fact of it that sometimes, like you had given that example with the kid in the powerlifting history accounts, like those kind of things, where and we see this with what ends up being famous, I think, anymore. Like there are people at the height of the craft of whatever it is they're doing that are considered the most famous in whatever field that is. But oftentimes there's musicians or whatever, there's better musicians everywhere than the people that are famous right now.
Hunting, but we've talked about that.
Exactly. They've got a look, or they have the right way to package it that they just understand. They understand attention. Yeah. And they understand marketing, and they understand platforms. And that's, if you want to have this idea of a successful endeavor and you want it to be a thing that you're known for, like you have to get good at telling people about it.
Yeah. And who's better at that right now than Deion Sanders?
But he's always been that way.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
when he stepped out of the limo in the fur coat and the cane and the hat, showing up to his last Florida State game, that's what he's been about since the moment we found out who he was.
Yeah.
He's not changed. He's not changed a bit.
But that's the thing is, I think you're onto the other point of it too. Is, man, it's just some people have that. They have that thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that's a dude. I've been really, really impressed with him. Just I don't know. There's a college football fan in me that understands the frustration with the things that he was able to achieve year one because of the marketing and the hoop, or
Mm-hmm.
I mean the hype and hoopla.
Yeah.
But he didn't create the NIL. He didn't create the
No.
transfer portal. So you can't fault the man for benefiting from the system. It's just like
Yeah.
Trump paying taxes.
Yeah.
He's like, I did the
Yeah.
same thing all these other people did.
No.
And that's the thing is other people can do it, but man, it is worse than a cover band when you see some of these other schools try to do what
Oh
they're
yeah.
doing and they don't have it. Like
Oh yeah.
the coach doesn't have that. Dude, it's so bad. It is so I don't want to say the school's name, but um, it's pretty wild out there when these people try to start doing the marketing and what people think marketing is.
Oh,
You know
for
what I mean?
sure. Yeah. Well, it
So
just reminds. I mean, it's whatever today's version is of your regular local, like local business TV commercials from
yeah, oh dude,
like from the 90s, where they would have the
come
person
on
that
down to
ran
Wally's.
exactly.
Come on down to
Like,
Wally's.
that's exactly what it is, or whatever the hardware store is in town,
Yeah.
or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's which. Looking back, those are great for obviously not the reasons that they're high quality,
Yeah.
but that's whatever, that's that version of it now. You
Yeah.
know, you're competing with whatever the highest version of understanding is in that, or skill is in that area, and then trying to do it in with by yourself in your backyard with an old camcorder. You
Yeah,
know,
I've got
like
an
that's
iPhone
what it
6 I'm
is.
taking all my vids with.
Right. That's
There's a
exactly what
kid,
it is, though.
dude, there's a kid in Texas. He's phenomenal. He started doing a lot of those like the reveals of cars, kind of like drone style, where he would,
Yeah.
as they're driving around and drifting, he was doing some of the drone stuff there, and he was doing like the walkarounds with different lighting and stuff. Like 16-year-old kid just obsessed with tuning cars.
Yeah.
His high school football team asked him to do a hype video, and this kid just knocked it out of the park. Well,
Yeah.
he got some deal with like a management group to make videos now for like people that are coming to events. Like, he's going to go to the event center and do videos of them, like when they're sound checking or when they're pulling up in the limo. So he's going to create these
Mm-hmm.
like day of videos for this event center, getting paid like $2,000 a show or $2,000 a video. And
That's
he's like
awesome.
16-year-old kid that just loves doing that stuff.
That's
But I
awesome.
guess, again, saying this to myself, as we talked about, like this year needing to film and wanting to film more of the hunts and capture those
Yeah.
moments. And like,
Yeah.
it's important to really think about it in a sense of not to make me look better, but to share the real, but also to
Yeah.
share the real in a way that's enjoyable and consumable. Like you don't want to watch an iPhone 6 video of somebody doing something, but
Right.
like having those stories where it just kind of reflects and talks about things. That's the kind of stuff I'm interested in, just because, as an English major, I was a writer. I like storytelling. I like unfolding a story in long form. So I think there's something that's appealing to me about that. And, just being able to do things in a different format, but then also maybe writing about them too, just putting them down in a collection of writings. But it really is limitless. Whatever you're
Yeah.
interested in, somebody is going to find it interesting if you do it well enough.
That story reminds me of the kid. Do you know about the kid who was Tyreek Hill's like personal videographer guy for social media?
Yeah, it seems because Dion's
So
boy does his stuff, and it seems like they talked about Tyreek Hill.
so they had this kid who, like, kind of the same thing, would just post stuff for a long time and made like all of these. He would show up and just film and ask if he could film and make videos basically for free, and was so good at it that he ended up getting hired by Tyreek to be like Tyreek's personal dude to make all of his videos for social media and then for his apparel stuff and everything. So he would do like highlight mixes of every week's games and that kind of stuff. And then this year, that game It wasn't the game they scored 70, but it was a couple weeks later when Tyreek did the backflip when he came over and took the phone from the kid in the end zone.
Oh yeah.
And then did the backflip while he was filming it. It was that kid, because it was his kid. He came and took his phone and did a backflip because he knew the kid was filming. The NFL suspended the kid because he said he helped like partake in which like you're not supposed to have outside participation or whatever rules are for the thing. But it, like that thing, because of what happened, the NFL coming down on him, like blew him up even more. Because it was him capitalizing on one of those. Like he can't technically work for the NFL because he technically was like a subcontractor for the NFL in order to be on the field filming or whatever it is. And so they ended up, I think, suspending him or something for the year. But he's like, just, okay, well, this is going to be great for me, by the way.
Right. Thanks for the vacation, guys.
Yeah, seriously.
I wonder how these, like the MLB and NFL and NBA and stuff are handling the fact that their assets are now more relatable people than ever. You know, like I think about the Kelsey brothers, like their podcast is gigantic.
Huge.
You know,
I think it's number one in the freaking country, like all categories, or at least it was for a chunk of time.
That's the Taylor Swift effect. Like
that's that
Jesus
also.
fucking Christ.
Yeah.
But anyway, nothing to take away from her for like being a business mogul, but like I just can't get down with the music. Some of it's okay. We'll leave it at that. But anyway,
that's going to bump our numbers up if the Swifties catch that you're bashing on Taylor. That's going to rein in our engagement.
Awesome. Great. 12-year-old girls, exactly what I never ever want to be like associated with ever. So anyway, but like they are celebrities off the field.
Yeah.
You know, like you look at their endorsement, and that's one of the things that I look at because, you know, with Sorinex and working in the outdoor space and then with the proper side too, understanding a lot of relationships, monitoring a lot of businesses and individuals, seeing how they market, what their shifts in the marketing strategy are, just being observant, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see some of these guys and they get the typical Gatorade, Powerade, Nike, Reebok, whatever. But when these guys start getting into some of the other like fringe stuff like coffee makers and cars, and these people are attractive to the women. Mm-hmm. Do you understand that? Like they are the Kelsey guys are being listened to by women. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if it's because of them or if it's because of Taylor Swift, but like the amount of products that they are going to like on home interior fronts is incredible. Like refrigerator sponsorships, microwave sponsorships. So
Jason was named one of the sexiest men alive of this year.
I will take that over some of the shit that has made magazine covers this year. I will tell you what,
he's the everyman.
But dude, and you know what? I will say this, in all joking aside, in the classical definition of sexy as an aesthetic, no. But like sexy for the way he lives his life and handles himself as a man in 2023, fuck yeah, that dude's a badass, and he's just an all around seemingly good dude. I do know some people that worked with him in the strength field and said he was better than he appears on any front. Like just the greatest guy in the world. So yeah, if we can start not normalizing necessarily the dad bod as an acceptance thing, but being like, you know what? It's pretty fucking sexy if you're a good dad and you show up and do your job and you don't lie to people and you don't fuck people over your whole life. You know what I mean? Like,
and also he's still like one of the best to ever play his position. Like there's,
I mean, there is that, you know, but like,
let's also not take away from the fact that he's amazing at the job that he does.
Yeah.
You know,
what'd you think about his retirement? I hated to see it.
I kind of figured that it was coming this year, especially after the season started going the way that it did. Because
that was a rough ending to their season.
It was bad, man. It was one of the things where I think the season kind of determined whether it was going to be this year, if he was going to go one more, because they were talking about it prior to the year beginning, because he's been with Philadelphia for like 13 or 14 seasons now. Yeah. Which like he's done the whole thing in Philadelphia, and like they love him there. You know, like that line crew that those guys have is with him and Lane Johnson, and those guys are just ridiculous. But it was kind of one of those things where they figured it was probably this could be the year, and I think I don't know, because they dropped their episode today or yesterday where he came on and talked about it, and so I haven't listened to that yet. But I kind of figured once I saw that they were not going well back, I don't know, 6 weeks, I'm like,
Yeah.
I think this might have done it. But what I think, here's my prediction too. I think Travis is done too after this year,
You
because
think so?
he's talked about, like, he said on their podcast, he's like, I've thought about it before, and I've heard from guys. I've talked to a couple of guys that played it, like I can't remember if it was Wellborn that told me this or somebody else, but they're like, once you start thinking about retiring, get out. Like, because
Yeah.
it's not a field, literally, it's not a field that you can be not 100% in on, just from a health and like safety perspective, being out there. Like, you got to
Yeah.
be totally switched on to be able to do that at that level. And it's like, if you're kind of thinking about getting done, like, get out. I actually just listened to, it was an interview the other day. They were talking to Calvin Johnson, and they were having him on because, the Lions are awesome and it's a great story and everything. But they were talking to him about, like, the Lions have this reputation of driving out the two best players that have ever played for them.
Yeah.
And, and he said, he's like, honestly, it was just my I couldn't take it. My body was hurting all the time. It wasn't worth it for me to, like, continue. And he's like, prior to that last season, I started, like, kind of whispering to some of the other guys in the room, like, I think this is going to be it. I think this is going to be it. And he's like, I couldn't have stayed on another year. And because he's like, I wouldn't have been able to perform at the things I needed to do well at. And I was just hurting all the time. Like, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, there's, again, I don't know who to credit this to, but I was told that there's a Mongolian quote about their warriors, and it was, a warrior never goes to battle looking at home. He's never looking back towards home, or a warrior never says goodbye before he goes to battle, because he's going to return home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't go with the idea that you're not coming back. And like in football, just like in powerlifting, I mean, I feel so ludicrous sometimes comparing powerlifting to like elite level of anything. And it is, I mean, it's phenomenally hard, but it's just such a different measure of, like, sport. But yeah, man, like, you have to go under the bar. And that's why I went to Mark Bell's meet and did that 110-pound squat. After my knee injury, it wasn't about the weight on the bar. It was about getting up there and committing that I was not done competing. Like, if I was going to squat 100 pounds for the rest of my life, I was going to bench whatever I could bench and pull whatever I could pull, but I was going to get back under the bar. And, that for me was, it was fear-based, but it also was like, okay, I can do this. And it just kind of gave me some freedom to start back knowing that, okay, even if that's all it is, you still want to do it. And I don't know now if I wanted to do it because of the sport or because it was like, that was the only outlet that I had. But nevertheless, man, I think it's just it's an interesting concept, because I never imagined myself being out of the sport until now. Like, I thought I would lift until my 40s, and getting hurt at 32, man, again, like, now you couldn't pay me to go back. Like, you couldn't pay me to have good legs and be in that same way of thinking, way of living. So I don't know, because I should have retired. I should have walked away from it maybe sooner. But nevertheless, it's just an interesting concept for those guys, because, like, they literally are on top of the entertainment. Like, they're a who's who of who's who's. And I definitely understand wanting to retire after a bad season. I also understand that, like, in Kansas City, if they win the Super Bowl, it makes perfect sense to retire. But man, I don't know, having some things left undone. And see, it's such a crazy thing, because there's only one lift that I didn't do. Well, two lifts, or two things I didn't achieve in powerlifting that I had shifted my focus to say that I wanted to achieve. Everything else was on a sliding scale of I want to achieve. So where I was when I got injured, I'd never pulled 400 kilos in a competition, and I had never totaled 2,300 pounds raw. And, I was roughly 30 kilos from doing that total. And then I was, what was it? I don't know. Maybe I was just that much in a deadlift away from both. You know, if I had pulled 881, I would have had roughly both of those things. So
Oh, wow.
that still kind of, it toys in my mind of like, what would that have meant? Not a fucking thing. Not a fucking thing.
Right.
I like even my biggest fan, whoever that might be, they don't know my lifts. They don't give a fuck. They just cared that it was like that I was following through with what I said I was going to do. I think that was the only way that you can like support anyone in powerlifting, is like you consistently see them plan, you hear their goals, and they achieve them. Like that's really the only way to be a fan of a powerlifter, I think. I don't know. Well, trip down memory lane. Let's go cry some tears now. Not.
That's funny, dude.
Oh, tell me about your shooting.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I had something caught in my throat there.
Nope.
Yeah, we had trad league last night. Actually, and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought this was going to be our last night, and it isn't. We actually have a couple more. So that's fun. So basically, yeah, because it's real informal, and the guy that runs the shop, his name is Danny, and they run an awesome place over there. And he goes, yeah, dude, as long as the weather's crappy and people want to keep coming in, like, we'll do it. I'll be here. He's like, it doesn't matter to me at all. If you guys want to keep coming in every week, I'm good with that. So, probably get another month out of it then, I guess. But yeah, I haven't shot in a couple of weeks. Didn't go last week. It was week before that I had gone last. And I was kind of like feeling a little bit rusty. I got there about 10 minutes before. I don't know, shot a little bit and wasn't feeling great. I had actually moved my knock point up.
Okay.
I want to say a little under 1/4 of an inch, not a ton.
Yeah.
But after I got those new arrows, the Black Eagles, it was just catching off of, because I have it sitting on a springy, but then it was hitting that, but then also catching on the actual shelf.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I could hear it before anything. And so I'm like, this isn't sounding right. So what, I don't know what's going on here. So I took it over to him and he goes, you might just be catching on stuff. So he's like, we'll just bump it up a little bit and see if that helps. And as soon as it did, like, back to being super quiet and was flying way better. I had a little bit of an adjustment, having to kind of reshift, finding that anchor, because now my arrow's a 1/4 or so inch higher. So I'm kind of like, now I'm a little bit lower than I was, because before I was like basically pushing my index finger right into the top part of my cheekbone. So it was like the arrow was sitting right under my eye. You know, but now I'm like just that much lower. So it's kind of like in that little bit more of that protruding place of the cheekbone rather than right below the eye socket, essentially. So it took me a couple of shots a couple of weeks ago to kind of like refigure it out. And those first few minutes last night, after a couple of weeks off, right after having fixed it, like I fixed it and then I shot like 5 shots and I took 2 weeks off. So I had to come back and like, oh crap, I have to kind of I forgot I did this. But after that, I ended up getting really kind of zoned in, and I've been really doing more the last like 6 months. I was actually talking to Matt about this from the push when I was talking to him a few weeks back. When I started shooting, I was going very aiming method, like point on, like super point on, you know, and trying to get all of that dialed in. And I ended up shooting okay, but it was never something I felt like I could be real repeatable with. For whatever reason. I never felt that level of comfort with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started switching to way more like almost pure instinctive from an aiming perspective. And after I kind of got it back dialed in last night, like I think I told you, but it was probably the best I've shot in a couple of months. And they were just, I was slinging them last night. I sent you that video. We have essentially how it goes up. There's 10 lanes. And you have 2 targets in each lane, and you get 2 arrows at each target. And then once everybody's done, you go get them, you come back, you just move down 1 lane to the right, and then you have those next 2 targets. So they're at varying distances in between there. So the video I sent you, we have like it's around 17 yards, and it hangs from the ceiling. It's like a big black spider that's on a web. So it looks like a big bat kind of, but it's got a spider sitting on it, and it like hangs and it sways. And it hangs about 8 feet off the ground, and it's about 17 yards. And then behind it, the second one in that lane was an antelope that's about 24 yards, and it was like all the way at the very back. So it's about 24 yards. And so I hit the 2 on the spider, like as dead center, as good as I've ever hit that target before, which that one always kind of F's me up when I'm shooting at it, just because of the angle I'm shooting up at it. And then it's always kind of moving a little bit. So it takes you mentally a minute to get used to that. But then that second one, there was a shrub that covered the whole front, basically from his shoulder all the way up his neck to his head. And the first shot, I freaking sailed it way left, like back hip. And I'm like, okay, I was definitely just overcorrecting looking at that shrub, and I just flinched and did something, didn't want to, And so the next shot, I'm like, I'm just if I shoot it through this shrub, I'm just going to do that. And I freaking nailed it. But I've been way more comfortable doing that more instinctive shooting and picking my spot kind of a thing, rather than trying to line up arrow to point on and then dropping down. Because I think, and when I was talking to Matt about it, the thing that I think mentally kind of messes me up is when I'm shooting those shorter distances, aiming below something I'm trying to hit messes with my head.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like from a trajectory speaking standpoint, I understand aiming above something because the arrow dropping makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like from a physics standpoint in my brain, but having those shorter, like anything inside of like 15, where now I'm having to aim below the thing I'm aiming at, and then watching it's just a weird mind screwer.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't know that I ever really get around it. So that's why like the pure instinctive where I can just send so many arrows, I know how they're going to fly, get everything in my technique from the drawback and anchor and everything, and then just pick my spot. And then it just kind of micro adjusts from there. Like that makes way more sense to me.
Well, that's like I was telling you, when I point my arrow at the target, I am committed to shooting that thing at that point. Like I know my points. So when I'm pointing at a 15-yard javelina target, I am below it. And that's where I start my draw. But where I get in trouble is when I get back to anchor and I'm like, oh, are you right? Are you sure? Are you sure about this? And I start floating. And then it's like, oh, that one hit the top of the spine, or that one went over its back, or it went under it, or whatever. But if I trust my gut, so I am a gap shooter in that I point my arrow below the body, above the body, on the body, wherever I need to.
Yep.
But I also cannot get back there and hold for very long. Like I have to hold and pull through my click, or I can hold the weight for something, but I can't get back there and think about I'm going to shoot this exact spot for very long.
Yeah.
Because then all the fucking wheels come off.
Mine's at the most like a 2 count. Like anything longer than that, I kind of start to do the same thing where it just starts to mess with me. And so I'll drop back, and it's like, if I don't have it, and it happened actually on 2 different shots last night where I pulled back and I got like 1, 2, and something just felt weird. And so I had to let down, and I did it twice last night on the same target. For whatever reason, something just felt weird. And I don't know if it was like something in my draw felt weird, or if I was just in that mode where I'm over analyzing where I was looking. But I literally pull back and be like 1, 2, no, something's wrong. And I let it down and did that twice. So I'm totally the same.
That's something that I don't think enough people are practicing is their letdowns. Yeah. I mean, truly. So here's something else I wanted to share with you, just because it helped me out a lot. Let me do something here. Yeah. So if you're listening to this, you won't be able to see it, but I'm going to show Ross in this video. So if you want to learn how to orient your broadhead, a 2-blade becomes your horizon line. Okay. So that's where you learn. So I actually turn my broadheads just slightly like at a 45, because that's where I hold and tilt. So when I can't, that 2-blade portion of this 4-blade from Evolution Outdoors is like a horizon line. Yep. I then put the up and down, the north-south blades on the leg. So that holds my aim true to the leg. And then I move my gap portion to the 2-blade. If I just have a 2-blade, I just run my height and I just try to frame the tip off the front of that. But yeah, canting it just a little bit to match your cant. So when your cant is there, it's truly flat. It's just a helpful thing for me at shooting animal. I got more accurate once I picked that tip up. I got more accurate on the animal. Like I was having some shots. There was a doe, and I was in a tree stand and I shot right over her back. I mean, just completely sailed it. One, I didn't, in the heat of the moment, I was just excited to get to shoot her because I didn't think she was coming in. And I was just like, hold it normal. Well, dude, it came out hot and just sailed over. And I didn't have any frame of reference of where I was, in the moment. I look back, I'm like, where was I even aiming? So now with that horizon line, it's one of those checkpoints for me. It's like, where's your horizon? So now I can always know where I'm shooting, because on that one shot, I just kind of lost focus in the heat of the moment. Was like, nope, I sent that one sailing. So always looking 100%. For better ways to shoot, man.
It was funny last night when we were there, we were talking about, cause we're off next week cause he's going down to Vegas for, a big competition that's happening down in Vegas next week.
Okay.
And then, maybe it's a trade show, and then there's a competition. There's a couple of things happening down in Vegas next week. So we're off next week. But he was saying there's guys that he was watching that are just unreal with their technique and their shot and stuff. And so we were kind of making light at
that's Lancaster he's going to.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of making light at that fact last night, talking about people who were, were just getting into it or whatever. And he goes, look, nobody here, and he's like, I'm saying this as just anybody that's not the top 0.2%. He's like, nobody shoots correctly.
Yeah.
It's like, he's like, we shoot what's correct for how we shoot. And if we can hit stuff consistently, that's great. Like there's always room to fine tune stuff. He's like, but nobody here is shooting with the technique that the guys that are winning the world championships are shooting with. And so it's kind of pointless to always do the what are they doing kind of thing. It's the same thing with people that look at what professional athletes are doing for their training.
Yeah.
It's like, why does that matter? Like this dude's been training for 25 years and now he's doing this stuff. This isn't what you teach a 14-year-old kid in speed school. You
exactly.
Exactly.
Shoot. Well, man, I think that's a good one.
Let's wrap it.
Yeah, let's just say a quick thank you to Born Primitive, Expedition Bows, Easton Archery, Selway Archery. I mean, he's not going to have a quiver on the compound, but I'm sure we'll do some stuff with him on the others. But really, just there's a lot of people that are rooting for us behind the scenes and willing to help. So all that's going to get paid forward to you guys, and of course, none of it's possible without you all. So thank you for listening. As always, thank you for the members for getting involved. And make sure you take a second and get one of those tickets for the raffle. It'll be a great prize for somebody.
True that. Catch you guys later.
Peace out.